everybody, Colton here, and we got the brand new intro for the King of the Hill revival series coming to Hulu in August. And I want to break down this brand new intro montage and reveal all of the hidden details and Easter eggs, giving us just a glimpse at what the Hills have been up to for all of these years, 15 years to be exact. However, it would appear that they are going to play fast and loose with the timeline, setting the show in modern day. As we see in the intro, the 2020 pandemic has happened, but rumor has it only about 8 years will have passed within the story since we last saw the Hills in the King of the Hill finale. And that report is actually supported by the roughly 8 years of seasons changing that we see in this intro. Now, the YouTube description does confirm that Bobby is in his 20s when this show takes place. Bobby was 13 when we last saw him in 2010, so he would now be 28, assuming that that finale did occur in 2010, which is when it aired. But if that's the case, an 8-year time skip would have Bobby at age 21, not 28, but we can safely say that the show roughly takes place between like 2018 and 2025, but like I said, the intro does show us the gang wearing masks, implying that 2020 has come and gone. Now, King of the Hill is in the same family as shows like Family Guy, The Simpsons, and South Park, shows that play very loose with time. They take place in modern day, but they don't have their characters actually age. Now, King of the Hill has always been a little more, I guess, realistic would be the word, but I think we can grant them a little wiggle room on the timeline. Okay, so let's break down this intro. We start with the classic intro to the series with our characters looking the same as they did when we last saw them. We then see time begin to pass very quickly with, like I said, the utilization of seasons changing to show the passing of time. When it starts to get cooler, we see Hank wearing his classic Strickland propane jacket, and when it gets really cold, Dale Gribble is of course wearing a full-face ski mask. Connie Supanusimphone approaches Bobby and Joseph Gribble as Bobby records Joseph skateboarding. Connie, being the brilliant kid we all remember, is sporting a trifold board with information on climate change. And then if you look close, we can see that Joseph doesn't look too excited about likely going to help Connie with this school project. Bobby, on the other hand, does seem excited to spend any time at all with Connie. We then see Connie's parents, Con and Min, bickering as they walk their dog, Doggy. We then see a teenage Bobby with little GH on his shoulders, GH of course standing for Good Hank. He's Cotton's son and Hank's half-brother. Dee Dee then pulls up in her convertible and picks up GH, and remember, from the final season of the original series, we know that Cotton has passed away. Next, we see John Redcorn picking up Dale's wife, Nancy, continuing their affair, the same affair that birthed Joseph Gribble. We then see a shot of the alley with just Dale, Bill, and Boomhauer, no Hank. And then Hank, Peggy, and Bobby come walking out with luggage. We see an Arlen shuttle approach and Bobby telling Connie and Joseph bye. Joseph looks very sad to see Bobby leaving. You'll also notice here that Bobby and Connie have both been aged up, but Joseph looks roughly the same because we already saw him have his growth spurt in the earlier seasons. Bobby and Connie hug, and I'm not sure if these two are dating at this point or just good friends. Last we saw them, they were just friends. Joseph picks up Bobby as he hugs him bye, and we see Boomhauer raise his beard, Dale tips his hat, and Bill cries. I love Bill. Next, we see seasons change and Bill is still crying, and that's when a moving truck approaches. Turns out Bill's crying because Hank and Peggy are moving, and according to the description of this intro on YouTube, they are moving to Saudi Arabia for Hank to start a new propane-related job so that they can save money for their retirement. We then see this new guy move in. Maybe the Hills rented the house to this guy for while they're gone. Next, we see Bill coughing, likely meaning that he was the first to get COVID amongst the group. We then see them social distancing and wearing masks, and of course Dale isn't wearing his mask right and has it pulled down on his chin. We then see a woman and presumably her son approach and then leave with Boomhauer, so perhaps old Boomhauer has settled down and is now a stepdad. Here we can see Dale pulling his mask off and then running for mayor, but this guy is still wearing his mask, so we're still in those waning months of the pandemic. We then see the iconic telephone pole removed, and the guys aren't all standing in the alley together anymore, and the alley is empty for what looks like about 3 years as these seasons pass. So I'm curious if everyone has moved or if their friend group has like disbanded following their glue, Hank, moving away. We'll just have to see, but we then do see Hank return. We see a Trip, T-R-Y-P-P car pull up. That's a play on like Uber and Lyft and even the Canadian app Trip that only has one P. This car is dropping off Hank and Peggy back home from Saudi Arabia. Hank is then quick to remove the Gribble for Mayor sign from his yard, which seems to have remained there far past the election. Hank then carries the sign sign to the trash can the same way he carried the trash bag to the trash can in the original, and now on the sign, where it used to be on the trash bag, we see the credits for Mike Judge and Greg Daniels. We can also see that Peggy has a new haircut, and then Bobby comes running in and puts his arms around his parents the same way that we saw Hank put his arms around Bobby and Peggy in the original show's intro. And according to the description, Bobby is now a chef in Dallas, and he is still running around with his friends Connie, Joseph, and Shane being Shane Wasana-san, Bobby's old bully. And guys, can I just say how excited I am for this show? When I was a kid, we didn't have like cable or satellite or anything like that. We didn't even have internet. We had like dial-up internet for a little bit. Anyway, we did have an antenna that had like a few TV channels, which 90%, 99% of the time weren't playing anything that you'd want to watch. But on weeknights on this channel called like KDFI 27, it was like a local broadcast channel, they would play an episode of King of the Hill at like 7 o'clock. And I watched it every night. My dad and I would watch it together. And my dad and I have an interesting relationship, very similar to that of Hank and Bobby. So I always enjoyed watching that show with him. And then, of course, I've rewatched the show like in my teenage years and as an adult. I just love the show, and I am so excited that it is back. So there was a breakdown for the new King of the Hill intro. Let me know if you are as excited as I am for this new show. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Colton Ogburn, and I will see you next time. Bye!
You're still here. It's over. Go home.